Alright, just testing this out. So, got my 2024 Zero DSR next to the old 2014. So currently just plugged into a normal 240 volt Australian wall outlet via a ignore the hairdryer there for defrosting the windscreen, but that's a Mitsubishi ordered or Mitsubishi OEM charge adapter for an Outlander plug-in hybrid. But anyway, it's plugged in using the J1772 plug to an adapter to the Type 2 plug that comes standard on the Australian models, but it's still single phase charging at the moment. Currently 2.1, 2.2 kilowatts, which is about right. So that's coming in via here. Now what I've done, I've backed off these bolts under the seat for the motor control, and exactly the same as the older Gen 2 bikes. When you're charging, the entire 116 volt bus gets energized, which means these are also live. Oop. It's doing something new, but still charging. Just a fan ramp for some reason for the Zero. It's been going for a while now. It's been charging for maybe 10 minutes at least. So what I've done is I've just temporarily slipped in some connections, which is not great because I've had to back those bolts out, so there's not enough contact on the motor inverter. You definitely cannot ride the bike with this temporary setup. More modifications would be needed if this works to ensure that there's good electrical contact and no high impedance joints into the inverter for these two. But anyway, just for charging purposes, we're only putting maybe an additional 10 amps from that unit, which we'll look at soon. Just fix the focus. But yeah, so checked all the polarities, blah blah blah. Swapped out a different style, well, not a different style Anderson plug, but you know, the older Gen 2 models, they've got the brown connector underneath. I'll just show you that. So where is that thing? Just there with the plug on it. So with the dust cover on it, I'll take that dust cover off. Come on. There it is. So that's the brown. I think it's SBSX75 or SBS75X connector. It's got signaling pins there as well. But what I'm trying to do is just replicate that on the Gen 3 bikes. It's a bit of a gamble, but I don't think there's any reason why Zero would have changed the design to not allow this. I think the information that we're receiving on the screen here is from the charger. So that's saying, as in the onboard charger, is saying it's putting out 2.1 kilowatts, and that's what's being shown on the screen. Even though this unit here, which is a AliExpress special, but works pretty okay on other Zero models. I've been a bit conservative, just set it to put out 110 volts, so it's a constant current, constant voltage, constant current power supply. At the moment, it's targeted 111 volts, which we're basically almost at. So the current is dropping, but you can see here at the moment, like it was pulling in 15 amps before. Now it's down to about 5 amps. I'll just turn off the flashlight, so that's a bit more legible. But yeah, typical AliExpress, you know. Who needs to really be able to see the display properly? Yeah, so it's putting an extra 5 amps in on top of what the onboard charger is doing. You just don't get that reflected on the screen here. What I have noticed though, the time left has dropped significantly compared to what it was before I enabled this. So far it seems to be working. I've got this is just an older unit that I wanted to try just because I didn't, maybe I'd break something on the bike, blow a fuse or something. I figured, well, if I'm going to break a charger as well, I'd prefer to break this old crappy one. I've got a newer one here that I want to try out at some point. But I think it's similar to the Alcon chargers that were popular back in the day when the forums were alive and well. But here it is here. So it's a 3.3 kilowatt charger. Come on, focus, come on. 14.5 amps input current, 25 amps at 25 amps at 118 volt DC output. So yeah, the idea would be you could carry this on the bike, don't have to pay zero for their it's about $1,800 Australian to upgrade the 3.3 kilowatt onboard charger to 6.6 kilowatts, which I think is, theft, basically. Considering I can pick one of these up, use it on my other bikes, decide whether I carry it on the bike or not. Obviously, it's probably heavier than the one that Zero have, but it is IP66 or some sort of sealed rating anyway. But yeah, the idea would be with the 12 volt, 12 volt output, basically when the bike is on, which I'll need to check, but when the bike is charging, there's a 12 volt outlet here that becomes live. So you can see that there. It's just a cigarette lighter type outlet. And there's also a plug buried in here somewhere which will give power when the onboard DC to DC converter is enabled. It'll flick on that as well. So what I'm thinking is when the bike decides, right, it's going to flick on the DC DC converter, I'll just have to check that happens in the right sequence. So that could be used to drive a contactor. So that's any sort of external charging accessory port that I can install here via a contactor only enables an external charger such as this one or this one or whatever, something mounted to the bike, but that only energizes the DC bus, the 116 volt DC bus of the Zero bike when the bike is ready for it. I don't want to have an issue where the charger is supplying 118 volts or 117 volts to the bus and the bike is expecting that bus to be de-energized for whatever reason. So at the moment I'm just watching it like a hawk basically. I'm ready to unplug that connector or unplug that, probably that one would be fastest. Just yank it out because I imagine the Zero main board would have some sort of a timeout, right, where it's expecting that as soon as that bus is de-energized with the contactor in the battery pack, again assuming that these packs are similar to the Gen 2 packs where the contactor is inside. Can't remember off the top of my head, but it'll open that contactor and then after a period of time we'll expect that there's very little voltage left on this. So we'll have to check the sequence for the 12 volt accessory output when that decides it's going to cut power, and then that would open a contactor so that any external charger that's connected via the terminals here on the motor controller, but that is also disconnected. So however that external charger is plugged in via another outlet or via a spliced in for like a 3-phase type 2 connector, where you've got 3 phases coming in, the onboard charger only uses one of those phases. So then you have additional charges on the other phases or on that same phase, however you wanted to do that. You just want to make sure that when the onboard charger stops charging, the offboard external DIY charger or whatever you want to call it also stops. Anyway, sorry that ended up being a bit longer than I would have liked, but just wanted to give a quick rundown on that. Does seem to be working. I'm not sure if anyone's tried it before. Anyway, cheers.